Manuel is back from getting his water, but we'll see. All right, I've got another question for you guys. Just food for thought. How on earth would we name this one? So far, Samville's pretty close to one of the... There's in fact two ways we could name this. Shelby, get out of here. Water dissolved in water, I love it. Yeah, so Melissa's got one of them perfectly. So we have one option here. And another one, believe it or not, is hydroxyic acid. So, how on earth did we come up with these? So, hydroxyic acid, we remember hydroic acid. Remember, is one of the ways we can name stuff. And so that means that this one would come from oxide, right? Yeah, I figured, yeah. And technically this name comes from hydroxide. Just so you guys know. So this was just kind of a fun thing, you know. So this comes from O2 minus, and this comes from OH minus. So both of those, if we add H plus to them, we'll get water, right? So these are totally acceptable names for water. Yeah, we like yours too. So believe it or not, though, you should not do your you know that they say, you know, dihydrogen monoxide. We don't say that because that's not going to happen because hydrogen has a single charge, and it's yeah, so fun. Okay, cool. Enough dawdling. Last thing I want to talk to you guys about is hydrates. Okay, and then we're going to do some more practice. Okay, so if you remember how solids looked, you know, way back at the start of the semester, we have, for example, these are our, like, maybe this is sodium and this is chloride or something, and they're just alternating, right? Sometimes, as part of their solid structure, they have waters in them. Sometimes that's just part of the solid structure. So certain crystalline compounds contain water. Water that is not aqueous. Okay? And so, occasionally that happens. And so we have a way of talking about them. We have our like regular compound. And then we add the number of waters as part of it. Okay, so for example, if we were to see we're going to recognize this as a hydrate. This tells us, you know, there are repeating units of cobalt, sulfate, and 7 waters within this particular crystal structure. And so it would have to be given to you. So many compounds can take different numbers of waters. They might have different colors if they do. You'll learn a lot more about that in Chem 102. But let's go ahead and name this one. So the way we're going to name it is it's going to have kind of the first part of the name is the regular compound, and then the second part of the name is going to be the hydrate. That's 99% there, guys. One thing is missing from both your answers. No, hepta is 7. You got that part right. See, Zoe, you're closer. I mean, like, you have the right idea. Yeah. That's what I like. That's what I wanted to see. Right. So this is cobalt. Sorry, okay, you guys are going to think that's an H and you're going to yell at me. Okay, there. Cobalt. Yes. Cobalt 2 sulfate heptahydrate. Oops. Yes, so because cobalt is a transition metal, we have to indicate the charge of the cobalt. And you guys found that out because you know sulfate is -2, and since there are no subscripts involved in that formula, the cobalt also had to be +2. It would be entirely wrong, Robert. Naming is all or nothing, so you gotta get the whole thing. So heptahydrate is where that water part is going, Elsa. So 7H2O is heptahydrate. So Shelby, that's another very good question. Yes, naming or spelling is important, but that kind of depends on the format of the exam. If it's multiple choice, like you're gonna have the spelling right, presumably. Like that'd be pretty funny for me to give you like 4 correct names, but like slightly misspelled or something. I could, but you know, typically you should. The spelling will probably be taken care of for you, but we'll see. Okay, let's see. Other questions on this one? We can do another example. Do that one, and then let's also do this one. Okay, so go ahead for the first one. Let's go from formula to name, and the second one, let's go from name to formula. Robert, shame on you. Why shame on you? Besides the fact that you can't spell. Is barium a metal or a non-metal? That's right, Tiffany. Yell at him. Yeah. So, Robert, remember, metal, non-metal, anything that has ions involved, we're not going to put di, tri, mono, whatever. So, this is just barium hydroxide. Octoxide. Take a look at the next example, Melissa. You do have the, octahydrate, exactly, yeah. Barium hydroxide, 8 water, yes. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, dotted period is fine. That's totally cool. Yeah, and I figure like if I'm gonna have you guys type out any things, I'm not gonna give you a hydrate first of all, but I would just tell you like just don't even put subscripts. Like just put the numbers directly like you did there. So yeah. Great. Perfect. Why is it hydroxide? So, the part that I'm going to underline in red, that's, yeah, I mean, Sanville, no, it's not wrong, but typically, like, for whatever reason, chemists do not like to ever put 1. It just assumed everything is 1 otherwise. So we don't write 1 minus for hydroxide, we just write minus, because who knows. So, Josh, this is why it's hydroxide, because the anion here is the hydroxide anion. So that's one of the polyatomic ions from our chart. Oh, I see. Yes, that is in the way, isn't it? There. Okay, does anybody else have any questions on these ones? So really nothing is really different with hydrates. We're just putting the number of waters on it. Just so you know, if you were asked to find the molar mass of something with a hydrate, you would include all those waters as part of your thing. I'll write that in just a second. I just want everybody to see these examples before I go ahead and scroll down. We can actually go ahead and practice that. So, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. I'll just rewrite the first one. If we wanted to find the molar mass, we would have to do barium plus 2 oxygen plus 2 hydrogen plus 16 hydrogen plus 8 oxygen. Okay, we would have to include all of the parts of that hydrate. Include the hydrate. Sure, Robert, whatever you say. And so that would become, let's see, barium is 137.3. We would add 2 times 16 plus 2 times 1.008 plus 16 times 1.008 plus 8 times 16. Okay, if you remember water is 18.02, you could just multiply 8 times that as well and add that to your number. But if you wanted to be truly systematic, you would do it this way. And doing this, let's see, let me do the math real quick. Okay, so you should get something like 315.46, something like that. Cool. So that's what you guys should get. Okay. So whenever you have hydrates of things, you will need to include the waters as part of their molar mass. Okay. Exciting. Okay. Do we have any other questions on naming? Were there any particular problems on the homework that you were just really confused about? or on the exercise B for the lab? If so, go ahead and write them in the general discussion, and we can have a look. Would you be able to write it out, Marissa, so I don't have to find it? Exercise B is in your lab manual, Samville, so you can technically do it, but I guess you can't submit your answers for whatever reason. He hasn't put that up, so go figure. But it is in the back of your lab manual, so you could do it. And I'm sure there will be some overlap with homework 4 just because there's a finite number. Okay, PbO2. Okay. So, is that one asking for 2 names out of curiosity, Marissa? Because I think a couple of them do. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So, I will give you a hint. Let's do one name as oxide and do the second name as peroxide. So this will be similar to that titanium one we did on Wednesday. Anytime you see O2 like that in a compound with a variable charge metal, you have the option of it to be a peroxide or a regular oxide. So we're going to have to name it once each way. So if we, again, I'm not going to really expect you to do that on the test. This was kind of, it's just more like thinking. So if we look at PbO2, if we want to take that as an oxide, that tells us that we have PbO2, and that's going to be 2 times -2. Which tells us that lead is going to be, what does lead have to be? Yeah, it's got to be +4, right? Okay, so here I'm just going to make a little barrier there. I'm going to just erase our as peroxide for right now. And so we would call this lead 4 oxide. So that is going to be one of our possible names for this guy. However, if we treat the O2 as peroxide, we remember that if we are pretending that this guy is O2 2-, then that means lead has to be what charge? 2, exactly. And so as a result, we get lead 2 peroxide. So that's why there's going to be 2 names there. So in fact, it's like almost exactly the same as the titanium problem. So, yeah. If I wanted to be super clear about which one I wanted, I would probably put parentheses around it to indicate that it's peroxide. Or I would have some other information in the problem that it's a peroxide. Okay? I'm just going to erase them for now. Yeah, it doesn't really exist, yeah, so. But, technically the formula would be PbO2 if it did exist. So, thankfully in this world of, classroom chemistry, I could make anything exist. So, all of these naming problems, I can just throw together whatever I want, when in reality it may not actually happen, so. But the point is, we are learning systematic ways to answer these problems. So if we were to encounter something new, we would have a way to talk about it. Okay? Any other questions on your homework or exercise B? Alrighty. So if you have not voted in our poll for the exam, I would encourage you to do so. Again, that's going to be in this helpful info polls tab, where we have our poll is right over here, so you can vote as the frog or the worm, or I guess this is a bug technically, yeah. In either case, your exam, of course, will be open book, open universe, open internet, but I would prefer it if you did not work together. The way that it's going to work, I have no problem with you guys using the internet and your books and your notes and stuff. It is open universe. I know it is 2OP. Isn't that crazy? So you're totally welcome to use those sorts of things, but the way it's going to work if it's on Canvas is you're going to see one question at a time, and the order of questions will be randomized. So, if you are working with a friend, presumably you will not be on the same question at the same time. And it will also be that, once you answer it, you can't go back, just as a precaution against cheating. It's going to be probably about, I would say maybe about 30-ish, give or take, if it's multiple choice. Sanville, it's going to focus on the stuff that we've done since our last exam. So that would probably be starting with Mass Present, so 3B, perhaps some 3A stuff through the beginning of Chapter 5. So remember, we lost a week, so we're a little behind schedule. That's okay. I don't think we're going to come back to the class this semester, so yeah. So I know, but it's because some people aren't sheltering in place, and so that makes it harder for the rest of us. So nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. So oh, really? They did? Yikes. I think we're planning to have summer online as well, or remote, but I don't know how it's going to work here at Glendale, so. If it's really that big of a deal, Sarkis, I can unlock the room for you to get your pencil, if you really want. But it better be a bomb-ass pencil, because I'm not going to drive all the way to campus just for that. So, yeah, I know. Nobody wants to be left behind. So I think everybody understands, Tiffany. So, and obviously, since this will be an open book and everything exam, presumably everyone will do better. But we'll see. I know on this topic, if you guys do, for whatever reason, bomb this exam and bombed the first exam, there are two options for you guys. You can withdraw from the course, and it will be an excused withdrawal, so it's not a W. It's going to actually be an EW, which is a separate notation. It does not affect your ability to take the class again, though obviously you would have to re-enroll in the future semester. And then the second option, you could take an incomplete grade, which means that you have to take the class and basically just finish the class in another semester. And if you don't do that, then you get an F. So those are kind of the options that we have. So, but I hope nobody is in danger of doing that. So if you are considering that, it's always a good idea to speak to one of the counselors or to me or someone if you're worried about that sort of thing. So, but yeah, the one is the deadline, I think, is the 13th week or something. Usually it's in May. Let me just double check for you. It should be on the website somewhere where the drop deadline is. Let's see. Yeah, it's the 16th of May is the drop deadline. Just so you know. You'll also get a refund, by the way, because it is an excused withdrawal, just so you know. Yeah, Tiffany, I think they're going to probably offer it, but it may be, again, remote like this. where it's like online pretty much. So but I can't predict the future. So good question, Josh. How I'm gonna have to do it again to minimize crosstalk between you guys would be to have it programmed to be available from 3:30 to whatever 75 minutes on. I'll probably give a few more minutes than that just for some wiggle room, but you'll probably log on to Canvas right at 3:30. You're not going to get the full 2 hours just because the exams for this class have to be 75 minutes. I know, I don't know why, but it is the way it is. I guess because other courses, since they're 3 days a week, they are only 75 minutes long, so. Problem 2 on homework 3. Okay. Yeah, we can take a look at that. First, we're going to take our break, though, okay? So, Josh, to fully answer your question, you would log on at 3:30. You would go on to, like, the assignments or whatever. You would go into the exam. It'll basically be a quiz. It'll be, like, labeled as a quiz, but it will be your exam. And you'll start taking it. It'll be available. And then at whatever time, like, let's say 80 minutes after, it'll close. And just that's how it's going to work. Yeah, I'll be around beforehand. And you can always email me, anytime, too. Okay, speaking of break, go ahead, Manuel Semble, type out your stuff, but we're going to go on break for 10 minutes or so. It's a good question, Manuel. Probably not anything new. I wanted to start, bonding and electronegativity and stuff, but I think we're going to have to put that on hold, just because it looks like you guys have more questions than I anticipated, so I'd rather cover those to start. So if you are like, confident with this stuff, then of course you're always free to go. So, yeah. Okay, so I will be back in 10 minutes, so 4:41, and then we'll talk about Cassidy's question, and then if you guys have any other questions, we can do those as well. Okay?